Good news, everybody. After a couple of days break, I've gotten a new microphone. I know that my last one was just going through the headset and didn't have very good volume. Hopefully, this is a bit better for everyone to hear the commentary. And let's start back where we left off at 4Q. The computer has a 2 stone handicap at this point, and it will only get worse for us from here on out. So, typically against a 2 stone handicap, um, if you were playing on a large board, you could play in one of the corners, and nobody would ever tell you that was wrong. And the response from your opponent would almost always be they take the third corner. Well, in a 9x9, I feel that's a bit too passive, and it's too difficult to overcome your opponent getting all three corners. Actually, later, when the computer has a 3 stone handicap, I'll show you my way of addressing that. And it is doable against this program, but it's not preferable. So, what I do is I immediately attack. And I don't attack by touching. Just like in a regular Go game, an attack is typically one space away. If this was on the fourth line, you could do a knight's approach. But since it's on the third line, I'm just going to do a straight approach here. And now that I have this stone here with 4 liberties, so I feel like it's a pretty good start. I want to make sure that black doesn't close off the rest of the board. I need to have a presence in a lot of the board if I want to make sure that I have more points than black does. So I'm going to come over here, and this time I am going to do a touching attack, which will initiate typically a fight where it's easier to live whenever you're touching each other like that. Although there's no guarantee that black will fight right away. He might also choose to attack this stone. So I'm going to do the touching attack now. Okay, so black has pincered this stone while at the same time threatening to connect to this stone. I don't want either of those. Well, I don't want him to connect, and I really don't want him to pincer either, but he's done it, and I can't stop that. So I have to think about what do I think would be more survivable? Him connecting here or him attacking here? So him connecting here is going to put me in a really bad way because there's pretty much no way up to that point to attack, or not to attack, but to kill this group. And this being a 2 space jump, you can't really split it or cut it in half easily, so attacking this group is going to be really difficult too. So if I prevent that with a Hane here, that's really good news for this group, but what about this stone? Well, black can try to either connect underneath or maybe on top. I think they'd probably go for underneath, but I can immediately attack the stone underneath and potentially find some life over there. So let's go ahead and do the Hane. Black indeed does try to connect underneath. So I need to Hane against this stone, play on the side of it, which puts this bottom stone in very dire straits. And if I capture it, there's a good chance I'll get an eye. There's also a chance I don't get an eye, but more often than not you will. So let's go ahead and start that. But do we want to Hane on this side or that side? And this is pretty important. If we Hane on this side and black cuts, then we can Hane on this side to capture, and then you can play on top and I capture. He connects this way, and I'll have to do some stuff to make sure I live, but I would live. Also, if I Hane on this side, he could just play back here. If he does that, he's pretty much alive. He's got that corner pretty well, and I'm at risk of being cut immediately. And that can't be good for me. So I have to connect, and then he can just immediately cut off my access to the corner, making this group of stones very heavy and needing to run over here for help. And again, he'll end up with a lot of points, and I don't like that. So I don't think Haneing on this side's good. What about this side? Do the same arguments hold true here? Well, if he cuts, the same argument holds true. I'll get a living group over here. However, if he plays back, this time I'm still at risk of being cut, but when I connect, his stone here would be in really, really bad shape. On the other side, his stone would have been fine, but here, the stone would be all by itself. So I actually like the Hane on this side a whole lot better. Let's see which way he chooses. He's going for the cut. So we're going to capture. All right. Not too many answers here, just have to follow through. Now, we are assured an eye right here. But are we assured 2 eyes? Well, not yet we aren't. If black were to play here, that stone would be an Atari and it would force me to capture. I'd get my 1 eye, but then black could wall me off here and this group would be dead. The same thing happens on either side. So I have to go ahead and capture the stone now to make sure that group lives. Done. Black has wisely decided to protect himself from a cut at this point. All of his stones are more or less connected at this point in the game, which is good for him, but he doesn't have a lot of points yet, which is good for me. He could have connected directly, and that would have worked fine, but this move is actually a better type of connection because it's so close to cutting my stones here that I'm forced to do something. Now I could connect a straight connection here. I could feel comfortable that this stone will die, but I'm still behind in the points game, and it doesn't really advance that too much. It's purely a defensive move to connect. Other moves I could consider: Hane on this side of this side to go ahead and really put a nail in the coffin for this stone. But how does that benefit me for gaining points elsewhere? Well, this stone is pretty much in the middle of a bunch of black stones. It wouldn't do anything. Over here, this stone, it gives me pretty good protection for coming this direction if I want to play down here. And the same holds true for going on this end. It gives me more protection going this direction. So let's consider what happens if black runs. If I Hane here and black tries to run, well, I could probably get away with playing somewhere else because he doesn't really have anywhere to run to. It's all empty out here. This is the closest stone and I've got a bit of an edge. However, if he runs down, like if I Hane this side and he runs down here, well, now he's very much closer to some friends on this side. So I don't like the idea of Haneing this side. If we Hane, we should Hane on this side. Make him run towards an area where he has less help. But are there any other options? Well, we could extend this direction, or we could extend out here or this way. I think these are all good options, but for the most surefire good result, I think in this instance we need to Hane. Alright, this is a Sente move. If he had instead played on this side, it would also be a Sente move. Basically, it's an either-or situation. We call that Miai. And in the Miai situation, when he does one, it forces me to do the other. The reason being that now that I'm closed off over here, if he hits me over here on this side too, I can only make 1 eye. So I have to ensure that I keep a 2nd eye. He's running now. Now he has 1, 2, 3 liberties, and all 3 of my stones also have 1, 2, 3 liberties. So I need to make sure I keep him at fewer liberties than I have. There we go. Situation has not changed much, but I do feel like we have a bit more opportunity here. So this group has 4 liberties. He still has 3. And if I were to pass and he were to cut here, it'd be very painful for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strengthen these a bit, try to gain my territory at the same time. And now he's cut us, but it's still 3 versus 3 liberties. I'm going to run out this way, expand my territory even more. and make this group more solid than his. Alright, he's closing me off here, making sure I don't connect to my other group. But is he making a good enough threat against these 3 stones that I have to respond with an attack here? And I don't think he is yet. If I pass on his next move, if he places me in Atari, I can fill down. And then he can't really run this way, so he could try to take away another one of my liberties. But I can Hane underneath, and it pretty much shuts that down. So I'm going to expand out this direction and try to get some more points. This situation hasn't changed, so I'm going to do that again. And this is a simple follow through. Nothing new there. And this becomes a significant attack against this group. If I were to pass, he could place me in Atari here. I'd play down, and I would have 1, 2, 3 liberties to his 1, 2, 3 liberties. Could I beat him at this point? I don't think so. He'd play on the side. He'd still have 1, 2, 3 liberties, and it would be very difficult for me to take a liberty of his down here. If I did play down there, he could start a co-fight by playing in. Well, maybe not. Sorry, I think I misread that. So let's go ahead. Sorry. If I block here, he can Atari starting the co-fight. That's where the co-fight I was thinking about was. So let's go ahead and ease this situation a bit by taking one of his liberties. And I think we've got the game in the bag at this point. So I'm going to make just a few simple in-game moves here. Alright. At this point, there aren't very many open spots left. The few that are Sente we'll go ahead and make. I say few. That was the only one that was truly Sente. At this point, if I play here, he'll immediately block and I'll be on the defensive. So that's a 1-point move. This is also a 1-point move. So we'll go ahead and do them in that order so we can get both of them in. And that should be the game. White wins by 15. So it should bump me up to 3Q. And thanks for sticking with me through all the quiet videos. And now that we're on a better mic and hopefully a bit better video, these will be more entertaining to watch. Or I don't know how entertaining 9x9 Go can be, but hopefully it'll be at least easier for you to hear. Alright, until next time.